Welcome to Diane Bronner and Michael Tuttle for today's presentation on BLV FirstSteps, teaching voiceover to young students. This is part of the team initiative, which both Diane and Michael have been a part of since the start. That's Tech, Equity, and Access in Math Team Initiative that's been running for almost 3 years now, creating resources, discussions and presentations like this to address the skills that our students need to engage in the digital math world that they are entering. So without further ado, this is a critical piece of what we identified needed to happen. I introduced Diane and Michael. Take it away.
Great. Okay, Michael, would you like to go ahead and share your screen?
Oh, yes. I thought I was already doing that. Does that work? Can you see me?
Not yet.
All right, let me stop sharing and then try again. What about now?
Nope.
Oh, there we go. Now it's we have lost the title page.
There we go.
Let's
There we
see
go.
if this does the trick.
Got it.
it.
Bingo. All right.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off. I'm super excited that you're here to join us tonight and to learn a little bit more about this really exciting app. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Diane Bronner. I'm an educational accessibility consultant, and I collaborate with app developers and educational organizations to create accessible digital learning tools for students who are blind or visually impaired. I previously developed and managed the Passive Technology website, a Perkins website, and I was an O&M, a certified orientation mobility instructor for 25 plus years. So I am semi-retired now. Apparently, I'm not very good at retirement because I continue to work on projects like the Team Initiative project, and I continue to work with app developers like Objective Ed to ensure that students with visual impairments can thrive in today's digital classroom. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Michael Tuttle. I'm an assistant professor at Florida State University. I primarily uh, focus on research, and my research revolves around assistive technology. I got into the field teaching in a math classroom that had a student who was blind and was using Nimeth and fell in love with the field that way. And so when this opportunity arose, it very much interested me in supporting teachers in this way. I also prepare pre-service teachers, students with visual impairments at FSU. We have both an undergraduate program, a master's program, and an orientation and mobility program.
Great. All right, so just a quick word of thanks that our work, including this webinar, is part of Team Initiative, just like Leslie mentioned. We're funded through a grant received by the National Strategy at Perkins School for the Blind's Transition Center. Yeah, go ahead and go on to the next slide for me. Thank you. So Team Initiative stands for Tech, Equity, and Access in Math. Team Initiative advances equitable, accessible mathematic instruction for students who are blind or visually impaired by developing resources and best practices that support TSVIs in delivering effective digital math instruction through research, collaboration, and innovation. And I do want to mention real quick that before a student can access math in a digital format, the student must have tech skills. So that's how this webinar and this app is important to developing those tech skills so we can access math. Okay, so our objectives today is understand the purpose and the structure of the Blind BLV FirstSteps app, identify how the app builds foundational screen reader and digital access skills, and recognize how these skills can support an independence and future academic learning, including math. So how did it all begin? Well, first of all, it started with the ABCs of iOS, a voiceover manual for toddlers and beyond. That manual was written by me for CNIB, which is the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. It was published in 2018 and it was wildly successful. CNIB came back and asked for an update to the manual, and then we decided we were going to collaborate with Objective Ed to develop an app based on the manual. So the app was first released in Canada, and CNIB is currently doing a 5-year study on the app and how students do learn VoiceOver through the app. The app was revised slightly and released in the United States, so now we can get the app through Objective Ed. Okay, BLV FirstSteps. What is it? It's an interactive app designed specifically for blind and low vision kids ages 3 to 8 to teach voiceover gestures and screen reader concepts through fun skill building lessons and games. Now, it does say 3 to 8 is the target age, but we have found that older students enjoy the app and students with multiple disabilities that are functioning on the 3 to 8-year-old level also thoroughly enjoy the app. Okay, tech gateways. This is kind of my soapbox. So why did we develop the manual and this app? One of the things that we've learned is that students with vision are entering kindergarten with tech skills. If you think of any preschooler, what are they doing? They are on mom or dad's cell phone, they're on a tablet, they've developed tech skills before they enter kindergarten. For our students that rely on a screen reader, they often have no interaction with tech before they get into kindergarten. So that's one of the major reasons that we want our students with visual impairments to enter kindergarten with tech skills. And we want them to be equivalent in their tech skills as their peers are. The second tech gateway is those online third grade high stakes assessments. In order to access those assessments, you have to be competent with your tech. And we know that it takes years to develop that level of competency with technology.
All right. And one of the things we like to do when we start out is just to kind of gauge you guys, the audience, to see where you're at with tech. So, how confident do you feel in teaching the foundational screen reader skills to young students? On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very confident and 5 being unsure. And so I'm going to launch this poll here. And hopefully it's popped up on your screen. So this is going on mine. Go ahead and select your response.
Michael, we got the
And I
wrong
think that's,
poll.
yep, there we go. I think in poll. Here we go.
There it is.
Here we go. Got about 46 responses. We have one person who's very confident so far. Um, you might be the first person actually to respond very confident. Uh, um, so the wide world of tech can be an intimidating area in general, but particularly when we as teachers of students with visual impairments um, aren't ourselves native users of this type of screen reading software. It can be very intimidating to try to teach students that build fluency for ourselves so that we can then cognitively model. So about 28%, like there's a nice even kind of like quarter split between somewhat confident, neutral, somewhat unsure, and very unsure, ranging from about 22% to 28%. or 11 to 14 people in those groups. So a nice even spread here. So I hope that there's something valuable for all of you because this app has a whole curriculum. So um, back in the day when I was teaching these foundational skills, uh, I was just pulling out of manuals of different technology. But with the BLV app, we now have an app that can do a step-by-step scaffolded skill progression and guide you through that. It has lessons to teach gestures and core screen reading concepts. So things like ear cons, um, interactive lessons designated for young learners. So it's the material is engaging. One of the hardest parts of any of the resources that I've come across before this app is building fluency and having activities to re-engage in. The skills are broken down into small chunks that are developmentally appropriate. And so it works at a pace designed for a young child um, in addressing those gateways that Diane referenced. Um, the fluency piece is engaging game-based practice activities and gamification to help build motivation. And then as an instructor, it's not just something that you have to catch up on the fly. There's built-in video tutorials to walk you through how to teach these skills and comprehensive help resources to help guide you as far as lesson plans and materials um, with that. So, what's inside the app? If you were to open up the app, it would take you to a login screen. You'd have to sign up for an account. But once you get to the actual content, you would fall on this chapter landing page, and there's 7 different chapters with 36 different interactive lessons. There's also 13 reinforcing games that you can use to reinforce the concepts that you cover in those lessons. And then, as I mentioned, the video tutorials and the help documents. Um, some of them are embedded in the app, and some of them you'll have to click off and visit the website. But we'll provide you those here. So what do I mean by age-appropriate lesson? We wanted to give you guys some illustrations of what it looks like to actually interact with the app. So this first video is going to show um, Diane interacting with a one finger tap gesture and the activity to build that concept.
Teddy the bear is feeling terrible today. Tap Teddy with a gentle one finger touch to turn his frown upside down.
I'm going to use a one finger tap. And again, a one finger tap. One more time.
And there's some slight tone variation to keep engagement. And you can see the age appropriateness. It is designed to be fun, to make kids smile, and to keep them engaged with the content.
To the two finger tap lesson. There's a robot talking to you in the middle of the screen. Make a two finger single tap to pause what it's saying.
Do a two finger single tap.
Great job. Now make a two finger tap to let the robot talk again.
This time I'm going to intentionally make a mistake. I'm going to use a three finger tap.
Make sure to tap with two fingers.
And I'm also going to show what happens if I do a two finger swipe right. Now this time I'm going to do a two finger tap again.
Excellent work. Now make one more two finger tap to pause what it's saying again. Great work.
Right. And so that was a demonstration of how to pause VoiceOver and get VoiceOver to continue. It's one of the first commands that's really important because if you've ever used a screen reader and gotten lost in a location, you know what it's like to be overwhelmed by all the content being read to you on the screen. And so this is like a nice age-appropriate way to have a silly robot being the mundane voice droning in the background and to teach that concept.
It's feeling terrible today. The two finger tap.
I apologize. Simple, so there's some other concept lessons. So dragging and swiping is another important concept. There, it takes some spatial awareness about, orienting themselves to the right, to the device of what's the left side, what's the right side, how to drag across a straight line. You have to be able to locate top, bottom, left, right corners of the device. Have some mental mapping, which is a true promise about touchscreen devices, because we can get some orientation with some of the audio feedback. And it teaches children to drag purposely in that straight line. As far as how this relates to math, well, a lot of the digital textbooks that are being designed are embedding things like this. So being able to identify rows and columns is going to be important, not just for digital math, also to uh, uh, be familiar with navigating the home screen. But let's go ahead and see how it demonstrates this video.
Welcome to the sonified horizontal dragging lesson. On the left side of the screen, we have a rubber duck, and on the right side of the screen is a bathtub. Place your finger on the top left corner of the screen and drag downwards to find the rubber duck. Once you've found the duck, drag your finger right along the sonified line to trace the duck's path to the bathtub.
All right, I'm going to find the edge of my iPad. In the top left corner, I'm going to drag my finger down. There, I heard the squeak for the rubber duck, so now I'm going to drag to the right. That's my sonified line. If I go too far up or
Try to
down,
keep your finger on the duck. Let's start again. Drag your finger down the left side of the screen until you hear the duck sound. Then, drag your finger right in a straight line to bring the duck to the bath.
all right, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to drag my finger down. There's my squeak, and I'm going to drag right until I find the tub.
Great job. Drag your finger down the left side of
Okay, I'm going to jump in real quick. So in the video, through the Zoom meeting, I can't hear all the sounds that are being made. So when you drag over the duck, it makes a squeak sound, so I know he's there. When my finger's on the line, you hear the da 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 da. And if my finger goes off the line, that line no longer makes any noise. Then when I got all the way to the end and I got to the tub, you hear the splash of the rubber duck there going to the tub. So it has more sounds in there that's not coming through on the videos. Now we will share a PDF and we of this PowerPoint, and in the PDF there are links to all these videos. These videos can also be found on Diane Bronner, my YouTube channel, Diane Bronner YouTube. And so you can listen to these videos again on your own and you will hear all those sounds. So same thing I noticed with the first one, the one finger tap on the teddy bear. There's a big giggling sound that he makes, and that didn't come across, at least on my computer. So I don't know if you're hearing it or if it's just me,
It
but I
does.
wasn't hearing all
It
those
comes through
sounds.
on mine. Do you not hear anything from the video?
I hear myself talking in the video. I hear the instructions in the video, but I'm not hearing all the sounds that the games make.
Okay, I have it turned all the way up. That's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah.
But this is also great because it's pairing that spatial orientation to audio tracing, which is a really important concept. While this is a very simple lesson, this is the foundation to being able to use things like Desmos and conceptualizing what's happening.
So I want to jump in real quick, Michael. Can I say a couple words on this
Yeah,
too?
of course.
So one of the things, the sonified line, that's kind of a new concept, especially for these little guys and applying it to the little ones. But what we're trying to teach with that particular rubber duck going to the bathtub, the path that he takes to the bathtub, we're not trying to move the rubber duck. We are only trying to follow in a straight line. And straight lines going across in a row is so important on the iPad. Think about your home screen with all the apps icons on that home screen. A lot of our young kids, they'll drag and it'll kind of curve down. They'll be in the second row. They don't know where they are. When they learn to go across in a straight line, then they can go and find every app in the first row or every app in the second row. And that definitely goes into math and following across, being able to follow a line of math, an equation, things like that. The other thing I wanted to mention is drag versus swipe. This is a huge thing. If you have probably met a student that's visually impaired that looks like they're super confident on their iPhone and they're swipe, 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 and they're going all the way through all the things super, super fast. But if they haven't learned to drag, They haven't learned to explore the screen. They don't know where things are on the screen. And so they've lost that whole mental map capabilities of using a touch screen. So it's much more important that we don't, in this app, we don't even introduce swiping till later. What we want to begin with is we want the kids to explore the screen, find where things are. Oh, I'm at the top, I'm at the bottom, I'm on the left, I'm in a corner. We want them to understand those concepts, which are preschool and kindergarten concepts. We want them to develop that mental map and that spatial awareness. The only way you can do that is drag. Swiping does not tell you where you are in space.
Diane, a question came in the question and answer session. Does the app make a tactile shake or something for our DB friends?
So it does not, the app itself doesn't. Now, if you want to make an overlay for the app, you can take a sheet of paper and you can still see through the app. I recommend taking a screenshot. And you can put your paper over it, and then you can use like the rainbow tape or the little magnetic tape. It's kind of like Scotch tape, but it comes in different colors and different widths. And you can make your own overlay for the iPad. I do have a post about how to make overlays and materials to use. So I will make sure that we include that in our resources that we hand out after the webinar. I'm making a note of that. Okay.
I
Okay.
saw another hand pop up. I don't know if that came across to you, Damari. We can keep moving.
Welcome to the
I think the hand that came up was the same person that
Okay.
asked the question, but if that's not true, whoever had their hand up, please put it back up. I don't see it right now.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So moving on. The power of a touchscreen device is knowing where you are in space. That is so critical. If you think about using JAWS on a computer, if you open up a bunch of tabs and you're doing a couple of things, all of a sudden you have no idea where you are. You don't know how to get out of it. With an iPad, it's super simple to get back to your home screen. You also can use the physical edges of your iPad to find a corner. You say, oh yeah, I'm at the top because drag my finger to the top or the bottom. This is the power of a touchscreen device. It's knowing where you are, and it goes right back to that whole swiping things. When you swipe through, you don't know where you are in space compared to if you're touching that top left corner. And if you notice in the video, I'm using my hand up against the side of my iPad to be able to trace that line straight down till I found the duck. There's all kinds of things in the resources, the videos, and in the help documents that help you understand how to reinforce what the student's learning and how to reinforce that whole mental mapping piece. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the next screen.
Diane, before you do, two questions came in the chat. One, do you recommend using a large screen iPad or is a smaller screen preferable?
That's up to what you have. So I have the normal size iPad, and that works beautifully on all the students that I've used it with. If you're working with a 3-year-old, the large iPads might be a little bit harder for them to use. But mostly you use whatever you have access to, and you can use any size iPad. This app does not work on an iPhone though, because you do need enough space to be able to drag around the screen.
The second question is, can an account be accessed on multiple devices?
That's an objective ed platform, and we'll talk about that at the end. So it depends on what kind of subscription you have from objective ed, if you can use it on multiple devices or not. Okay. Great questions, and keep them coming. We'll try to answer all the questions. All right, keep on going for me, Michael. Oh, you are. A critical concept, spatial awareness and mental mapping. All right, spatial awareness and mental mapping. First, think about what do you have on your home screen of your iPad? What's your very first app? So you should know that, and your students need to learn that. That's part of the developing that mental map. So for me, my first app is the calendar app. My last app on the first page is my Safari. It doesn't matter what you have, where it's located on your iPad screen, but you need to know where things are, and your students need to develop that too. So think about what apps on your second page. I organize my iPad that all of my student educational apps that I work with students with, that's all in folders or on my second page. On my phone, my second page has all my O&M apps for my O&M students. So, think about how you organize your iPad or how your student organizes the iPad. And then you want to go ahead and think about that mental mapping. That's what we do as an adults. This app, the games in this app go through and teach the kids those kinds of concepts. Um, Predictable locations. Let's think about a minute. On your iPad, if you have an app open, where's the back button typically located? It would be in the top left. If you have a next button, where would it typically be located? Probably the bottom right. Okay, there's a reason for these things. Where's the toolbar? The toolbar is normally across the top of the screen, sometimes at the bottom of the screen. These are important things to understand where things are located on the iPad, so it helps you develop that mental map. And most app developers are pretty predictable about where things are, so you can transfer that skill from one app to another. One thing that I thought was really cool is when the iPad was initially released. Remember, I was an O&M for many, many years. And when the iPad first came out, I noticed that all of my students improved significantly with their spatial awareness and their mental mapping. And that impacted their O&M and their math skills. So if you think about O&M, you should have a mental map of your school building or of your community, and you know where things are located in that mental map. If you don't have a mental map, then you're typically learning rote routes. Somebody has to teach absolutely every route, O&M route that you do, because you don't have a mental map. So you might learn how to go from A to B, but all of a sudden you want to go from A to C or B to C. You can't figure that out because you don't have that mental map. Okay.
Diane, we have two questions. Sorry.
Okay.
One is, if students have a screen protector on, do the touch gestures not work like you shared in the video?
They do work. If you have a really thick screen protector on, I would not use it, like that. OtterBox is one of the ones that we use quite often, especially with students that have multiple impairments. I would not have that on my iPad when I'm teaching voiceover gestures to a young student because it impacts all your gestures. It's harder to do your gestures with that screen on it. If you have a light cover on it, it's not a problem, but I would recommend not doing that while you're first teaching iPad skills. Okay.
The second one is, how would you contour this app to the Ballyland app? I think compare maybe.
Compare? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Ballyland apps are really interesting and I love them. They teach specific gestures. There's several different ones out there. The difference with this app is it systematically takes you from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. It teaches you the gestures, but it also teaches you the concepts, your tech concepts that you need to learn. It also does a range of things. So it starts really young for those first kiddos just touching the iPad. And it goes through complex things like menus and Rotor. I know Ballyland has a Rotor app, but this one teaches you a little bit more about some of the concepts that you need. What I love about this is it's progressive. So you don't, as a teacher, don't have to think about it. You can run right through the entire app. Remember how many lessons and games there are? You can run right through the app in progression, and you don't have to know everything that you're supposed to teach because the app does it for you. Great questions. Okay, so this page is just starting to talk about the lessons, and they include the progressive age-appropriate concepts. So on the right side is a screenshot, and at the top center is an owl. And then in a row below the owl, there's an owl, owl, seagull, seagull. And this particular lesson is talking about same and different or matching. Okay, this one's matching. So with this one, the instructions tell you to locate the owl at the top, and you find that owl, and then you're supposed to find the same below and select it. And then it'll ask you, you're supposed to find the different bird below, and you select that one. So there's a lot of educational concepts that are built into this app that are age appropriate for our little guys. So some of the educational concepts are grouping, same and different, matching. And then we get into the navigation and the screen reader concepts. So we're going to talk about columns. We're going to talk about menus. What is a menu? And when a menu pops up, you have to navigate it by going down. How do you exit a menu? You use the scrub gesture, the back, which is also called the back gesture, a two-finger swipe left and right. So it kind of pulls all of this together. The rotor, it divides the rotor into 5 different lessons into small little chunks and teaches the student each part. I also have ear cons on here. So a lot of people ask me, what's an ear con? So an ear con, well, let's start with what's an icon. An icon will be a visual image that conveys information. So an icon might be the gear setting, and that tells you its settings. The icon might be the arrow that goes, and that tells you how you share or you send an email, you're sharing it. Icons we understand. Ear cons are the sounds that convey meaning. Okay, ear cons are sounds that convey meaning. So we know some of those. If you have an email that comes in, you might hear a ding. If you have an email that you're sending, you might hear a whoosh. There's all kinds of ear cons that tell you what's happening on the screen if you cannot see the screen. So when you are if you're dragging from item to item on the screen, or if you're right swiping and left swiping from item to item, you're going to hear click, 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 click. When you get to the end of a row and you move down to the second row, you're going to hear descending beeps. If you're moving back up a row, you're going to hear ascending beeps. If you drag your finger, if you move your finger or you swipe and you're at the end of that row or at the end of the page or the end of what's on there, you're going to hear a thunk. There's all kinds of ear cons, and they are so important to teach our students that are visually impaired so they know what's happening on the screen. Okay. Michael, this is your slide.
All right. So now we're going to talk about applied learned skills and associated games. So within the app, you will have these lessons that you practice the concepts like running your finger across with the duck. But then there are going to be games that you can use to reinforce that. So the first one is to go through this first video is going to show us the lesson of how to do a 2-finger swipe up or down. And then we're going to look at the game in the second video to see how they can build fluency and stay motivated and keep learning that skill.
So this one, the first one is just an image. And it is
all right.
the lesson that teaches the two-finger swipe up and down, just like Michael said.
Yes.
So to get the beach ball to come to you, you have to do a two-finger swipe down. To kick the beach ball or throw it to go away, you do a two-finger swipe up. So that's an interactive lesson. And then the game that goes with it is Granny Soup.
Supper going. Luckily, I know I can count on you to get all the vegetables ready. Here we go. Swipe up on the screen with 2 fingers to peel the carrot.
And use a two-finger swipe up.
Good job. Now keep swiping until the carrot. Well done. Now swipe down on the screen with 2 fingers to add the carrot to the pot.
All right. So there are some ear cons to piggyback off of what Diane just has said. I don't know if you guys can hear them. So there was some instructions to use a 2-finger swipe up to spin around. Was that the vegetable? What is
The carrot.
the carrot? Sorry, yeah. And so when you swiped up with 2 fingers, you would get this little like click sound to let you know that the carrot rotated. And then after they did it successfully 3 times, then you got a charm, like a little celebration noise to let them know that they had done the activity correctly. And they're supposed to be baking grandma's soup. So it's embedded within the activity. And it's not a guided lesson anymore. It's them practicing that skill over and over. So this app is fully accessible. It's designed for somebody who doesn't know VoiceOver. And so actually when you interact with the app, you don't have VoiceOver turned on. So it has its own built-in accessibility mode that mirrors VoiceOver, but that is actually turned on later in after you've signed in. If you have when you're a little bit more experienced, you can sign in using VoiceOver, although the login screen is not. It has some issues with accessibility, reading letter by letter, but then when you get in the app, you're supposed to turn it off, so you can use that accessibility shortcuts and settings to then turn off that app and then turn on the accessibility mode. And that is what actually helps give the feedback, is having that embedded feature within the app. If you use the 2-finger swipe right or left, it will toggle accessibility mode on or off within that app. And what do I mean by it's fully accessible? So there are prompts designed for somebody who is not engaging with this visually. So there are a lot of pretty visuals within the app, but if we go back to that ducky video, there were prompts to tell the student where to locate on the device, and then guidance on how to locate, what to listen for in terms of when they knew that they found the ducky, and then there's the audio feedback as they go across. And so that is fully designed in mind of not using that screen as your feedback and knowing whether or not you had success or not. Okay, so here's a quick example of that accessibility mode and how to toggle that on.
This is a quick video to demonstrate a couple of commands used in the FirstSteps app. Remember, in this app, VoiceOver should be turned off. I'm going to start by toggling accessibility on and off. And to toggle it on, I'm going to use a 2-finger swipe left or right. So I'm 2-finger swipe right.
Accessibility is currently enabled.
And it turned accessibility on.
And then from there, you would operate and either you can drag and locate the items on the screen just like you do with VoiceOver, or you can swipe.
This is a quick.
Okay, there's also video tutorials within lessons. So when you open up a lesson, it's going to prompt you through and tell the teacher the concepts and what you're supposed to teach.
In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to navigate through the chapters with accessibility on, and then I'm going to swipe to chapter 4, swipe and double tap chapter. I'm going to open that up and I'm going to select the video tutorial for the swipe right and left lesson. So I'm on the chapter select page. I have accessibility on. I'm going to use right swipes to get to chapter 4.
Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, swipe and double tap.
Going to double tap to select.
Double tap. Swipe and double tap.
Swipe and double tap is the name of this chapter. I'm going to right swipe until I find the lesson that I want, which is one finger swipe left, right.
Back. One finger swipe left, right. Button. Double tap to select.
I'm going to double tap to open it up.
Lesson 1. One finger swipe left, right. Button. Double tap to select.
That's the one that I want. I'm going to swipe right to start lesson.
Start lesson.
I'm going to
double tap to select.
Let's double tap to select that.
Play.
One finger
Button.
left and right swipe.
Double tap to select.
In this lesson, the screen displays a rabbit standing on the rabbit hole. In a straight line to the right are 3 clovers. One finger swipe right and left will be used to move the rabbit to the next or previous space on the screen. Hover your hand over the iPad, then make a fist and extend an index finger. A swipe should be a very small movement. The finger should only move about an inch, and the hand should stay still. Swipe the index finger from left to right. A swipe should also be a very quick movement. If the index finger hesitates on the screen, it will be considered a tap gesture. Swipe right until you eat all the clovers and hear a thunk sound.
It looks like the rabbit ate all of the clovers. Swipe left to return home.
Swipe the index finger across the screen from right to left until you return to the rabbit hole and hear a thunk sound effect. For more information, please visit the one finger swipe help menu.
Double tap the screen with.
All right. So there was a little bit of inception there. We just watched a video inside a video. Okay. So that video would actually come up, and that is a tutorial that walks you through what to do. And hopefully, even if you couldn't hear his voice well, there were captions, and that we will provide the handout so that you can listen to it on your own. But that is what's going to help you to feel confident and being able to teach that lesson and imitate in some ways some of that content that's being provided.
In this video. So I did want to jump in real quick. When you swipe from cloverleaf to cloverleaf, the rabbit chomps on it.
Mhm.
When you get to the end of the line, you still have to swipe once more to know that there's nothing there, and you hear the thunk. And then you swipe left to go back to the hole. And in order to go into the hole, you have to swipe. The rabbit's on the hole. You have to swipe left one more time to hear the thunk before you're done with that game. So remember, these lessons are really good because if you don't swipe that last time, it will tell you, it's interactive. It will tell you have to swipe again. So
And
it's.
they mirror concepts too, right? So like going through a menu when you get to the end of the item, these are ear cons that will have applicability in other contexts.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So this slide, we talked a little bit about the video. Every single lesson has a video like that. The first videos give you a lot of information about the hand should just hover over the iPad. And if you're doing things like a 2-finger or 3-finger gesture, your fingers should be slightly apart and they should be relaxed. And it tells you all these different things. And there's also things in that warm-up activity page that you can practice with your students to help them make that gesture easier. So there's a lot of help and information here for the teachers, and it will help your student to create better gestures. It will also help your students to understand what's happening, those tech concepts that we're teaching, like the ear cons. So let's talk about the help documents just a little bit. Go ahead and play this video. This is our longest video here tonight. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to find the help documents for the BLV FirstSteps app. So I am in the Objective Ed website on their home screen. This is objectiveed.com. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit until you find better tools for blind and low vision students. So there's better tools for struggling readers, better tools for blind and low vision students, and better tools for transition age students. Again, I'm going to select the better tools for blind and low vision students. Now here, this screen shows a whole bunch of different games that are part of the Objective Ed platform, and they're divided by orientation mobility, assistive technology, Braille literacy, and pre-ETS. So you can scroll down through and take a look at some of these different games that are there. But we specifically want to look at the help documents. So the tabs at the top are solutions, help, and about. I'm going to select help. And at the bottom of that pop-up menu is BLV steps. We're going to go ahead and select that. And again, this talks a little bit more about the 3 different levels. So First Steps is the app that we're talking about. Next Steps is a whole list of games geared for ages 6 to 14 or thereabouts. And then the last is Future Steps, which is more for the older students, the transition students. So back at the top, we have 5 tabs. We have solutions, videos, first step help, next step help, and pricing and information. We're going to go ahead and look at First Steps help. Remember, this is the BLV FirstSteps app. And then it has the option in a drop-down menu of introduction or chapter guides. We're going to take a look at the chapter guides, but the introduction goes in and tells a little bit more about the app. There's a little video there. Let's go ahead and look at chapter guides. All right, when the chapter guide page pops up, we have lots of different chapters or lots of different things that we can select, starting with the general help and then the warm-up activities. Then it starts with the chapter 1, lesson 1, finger tap.
No. All right. Did that stop where it was supposed to?
No, it should keep going. So these different tabs are all about the various lessons and they're organized by chapter. So each lesson has its own tab that you can open. So let's first take a look at the general help. I'm going to select that. So the First Steps general help is really great for, especially for people that don't know anything about VoiceOver. So it explains VoiceOver, it goes into the basic VoiceOver gestures that are taught in this app, goes into techniques, who benefits from VoiceOver, indicators that a child will benefit from a screen reader, and it has a list of different types of things that will help you determine whether your student should learn a screen reader. Okay, so it also gives you some things that as you're going through and teaching this app with your student that you
I don't know what's happening.
to be sure that the student explores every screen to build that spatial awareness, that they listen to the VoiceOver announcements, that they use the ear cons, the sound-based hints, goes into the prerequisites for the First Step app. And I do want to mention that First Step app is for children who have an interest in touching and interacting with the screen and should have the necessary fine motor skills to use a one finger to drag and tap. So if your student isn't quite there yet, it gives them other ideas of where to start to get them ready for the app. The Gesture Forest game is the first game in the app, and this is a game that does not have instructions with it. This is not a guided game. Gesture Forest is a game that allows the students just to explore the app with one finger, two finger, whatever they want to do. They can try the different gestures, they can drag and tap and double tap, and different things happen on the screen. So this is a very, very basic game that just allows any student to explore the screen. Goes on to talk about how you should position the iPad, how you should model, what the screen curtain is, about the accessibility mode, which we've already talked about, talks about the home screen with the chapters, training room settings, and quit. And it just keeps on going down. If you keep scrolling all the way down past the last text, there is a basic voiceover gestures commands chart. So this lists each gesture that's taught and what it does. So the one finger swipe right from anywhere on the screen will move the focus to the next item. So that's the gesture, one finger swipe right, and the action is moved to the next item. So there's just a quick cheat sheet for you. And then if you want to monitor or track your students' progress, here's an iOS skills checklist. And on this checklist, it's divided by chapters. And then it shows the skills, the lessons, or the concepts that the student is going to learn in that chapter. And you can record the date you introduced it, their level of independence and their progress, and the date they mastered it. So this is a great help. You can download this page or these pages, and you can keep the progress of your students' progress. You can mark your progress, and you can use it to develop IEP goals. This is a great little worksheet.
All right, we have a couple of questions in chat. One was Amanda. Hello, Amanda. Do you have to have an account to be able to see this view? I was trying to find where you're on the web page. You don't need an account to get to the help documents.
Let me jump in on this one real quick.
Yeah.
If you look on this screen, the help document chapters on the screen is underlined. That is a link that'll take you to that chapter on the Objective Ed website. And then to jump directly to the general help, there's that link as well. So we will send out a PDF of this PowerPoint. Those links will be in it.
Mhm.
So you can find it. The other thing is, other than the general help, everything else is also embedded into the website itself. And so if you go, not to the website, into the app itself. So when you you selected your lesson and you started the game, the second tab, if you didn't start the game, the second tab, it was help, your help. So you can go in there. But I will say, if you go through the app, it takes you out of the app to a Google document, and you have to go back to the app. So it's a little bit clunky to get to those help documents from the app itself. I really recommend going to the website. The other thing is you can pretty quickly download or print out these helps. So I really recommend that you look at the help before you teach that particular thing to your student, or even before you go in and practice that lesson before you give it to your student.
Diane, there's another question. Does the system track the lessons that are completed? Is there a proficiency level before moving on to the corresponding games or before moving on to the next lesson?
Okay, so there's a real interesting thing. In the United States, we cannot track student progress. We cannot determine who is doing the game because the schools don't allow it. That's a little bit of a difference. Remember, this app was originally developed for Canadians. And so with the Canadian version, you can track a little bit more. There is yes, there is more tracking on that. The United States version, we can't track anything when have it in the schools. You do have the option for, there's no proficiency. You don't have to master it, but you do have to play the game or the lesson before you can play the next lesson, before you can play the next one, or before you can get to that game that's associated. But we want the teachers to have control. So you can go into settings and disable, you can unlock the lessons or unlock the games so that you can jump around. If you have a student maybe that's ready for a higher concept, but maybe they can't do three-finger gestures, you can choose to not go in order. Okay, so you have that option in the settings, but
And
there is no proficiency. As long as you've played it all the way through the lesson, that's all it requires to move to the next one.
absolutely. And the checklist in the help documents are meant to help you monitor your students' progress and keep that data as well, just not within the app, unfortunately.
And we did, Damari did put those links, and the handouts will be in the email that we send out after this webinar to you. All of those handouts will be there so you can have access to them.
Okay. Just take this as a 5-minute warning as well, but there are still a couple more questions. So one is, what is your experience using the app with kids with residual vision who are very visually motivated, but likely to benefit from voiceover skills and knowledge?
Absolutely. So again, as a teacher, you have the option to go into settings and or in a game as well. You can put the screen curtain on. And when you do that, it makes the screen dark so you can't see the visuals. So you can turn it on or off depending on what you want. I have found when I've used it with students that really rely on their vision and they're not relying on the auditory, that I have to turn the screen curtain on. Okay. And this webinar goes to 7:30, so we are good for another half an hour.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yep, yep. I was panic mode there.
I was like, I thought 7:32.
Two more questions.
Okay.
Well, just one actually. Is there a cost to join Objective Ed in addition to purchasing a subscription for the app for the student?
Yes, and I will talk about that in just a minute and give you all that information. Okay. Did I miss any other questions?
I think that looks like everything.
Okay. All right. Oh, I guess there was a question about Google Docs that some people would like the handouts in a Google Doc format. So that's a really interesting thing that we haven't come across in other webinars, people asking for a Google Doc, but we can make that happen. Okay. All right. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to find. All right, so this is the warm-up documents. Remember earlier I told you if you have students that are having trouble with gestures, making the gestures, you can do certain things. These are activities that are not on the iPad. These are physical activities to help your student learn how to perform the gesture correctly. And they're fun little games and things like that. There's a few concepts as well, not just only gestures. So let's take a quick look at this warm-up activities section. In this video, I'm going to briefly mention the warm-up activities. So in the help document for the BLV FirstSteps app, I'm on the Objective Ed website. I'm going to go ahead and select the warm-up activities. So with students that are learning the gestures, some of these gestures are really hard for the little guys, especially students that have learned to use a Braille writer, a manual Perkins Braille writer. With a Braille writer, the students are going to pound in order to make those different Braille letters or to scribble on the Braille writer. But we don't want the student to use that same force. They should not be pounding on the iPad or pressing very hard. So the first thing, warm-up activity that you can do is the tickle touch, and it talks about how to teach the student to use a very soft, gentle touch. So these warm-up activities are activities that you do to reinforce the gesture or the skill that you're teaching off the iPad. So they're just fun little games and activities that can help the student, prepare the student and practice the gesture before they do it on the iPad. Okay. In this video, I'm going to briefly mention.
All right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then.
Yeah, go ahead.
So our next example is a comprehensive help document for a lesson in chapter 4, the one finger swipe right and left. So within the lessons, they have a few different criteria, the prerequisite skills, the aligned warm-up activities from that warm-up document that might help if your student's struggling with certain gestures. The gesture that's that you're focused on and modifications you can make to those lessons. So just let's take a look at the video to walk through uh, examples of that.
In this video, we're going to take a quick look at one of the help documents. We are on the objectiveed.com website under the First Step Help. You can also access the help documents directly from the app itself, but when you access it from the app, it actually takes you out of the app to a Google Doc, and then you have to go back to the app. So I really recommend as a teacher that you go into this website, the Objective Ed website, you find the chapter or the help document that you're looking for, and you read it from here or print it out from here before you do the activity yourself, which you should always do before you introduce it to a student. So again, I'm on the First Steps help page, and I'm going to go down to chapter 4, and we're going to look at one finger swipe right. So the first thing it does is it tells you what the action is. A swipe right moves to the next item. A swipe left moves to the previous item. It tells you why this gesture is important. It tells you the prerequisite activities or lessons that you should do with the student before you teach the swipe. It gives you the warm-up activities. Again, you go back to that warm-up page that we just looked at. It gives you suggestions on how the hand should be before you make the gesture or how to do that gesture successfully. It gives you some modifications in case the student physically can't make that gesture in the ideal way. Then I really like this section. This section is common issues. So one common issue with the right swipe or the left swipe is the gesture is interpreted as a tap. And the cause is hesitating or holding the finger on the screen before moving or swiping to the right. Hesitating will be interpreted as a tap, not a swipe. And then it gives you the fix. The finger should be in constant motion. So it keeps on going. It goes through the common things that students, especially young students, come across when they're trying to learn these different gestures or concepts. And then under the lesson section, this is important, especially if you are visually impaired yourself as the teacher and you want to know what the screen layout is. So it talks about the lesson. It gives the goal of the lesson. It tells you the screen layout. So on the one finger swipe left and right, the screen layout is a rabbit on the left side, halfway down the screen. He's standing over his rabbit hole, and to the right of the rabbit are 3 clover leaves in a straight line. And then it breaks down the game or the lesson of what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to listen to. It talks about the ear cons here. The ear cons in this one are the whoosh as the rabbit goes from cloverleaf to cloverleaf. You hear the thunk when you hit the end where there's no more clover leaves and you have to turn around. So it goes on and describes a little bit more about the breakdown of the app.
We just got a question. Where are these help documents again? On the Objective Ed website or in the app? It's on the site, but you can access it in the app. It'll take you to the site. It does make you leave the app.
So in the app, it takes you to a Google document, does not take you to the website. But you can access it directly from the Objective Ed website, 2 different places. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this, okay. All right, so this one is the student rate of progression through the lessons and chapters. I get asked this question a lot. How fast, how long will it take my student to complete this app? Well, it depends on the student. So students will progress through the lessons and the chapters at their own speed. A 3-year-old may stay on the first lesson or the first chapter for a very long time, while an older student may fly through the first ones and then spend more time on later chapters. When we did the field testing, it showed that older students, and by this time when we did the field testing, we field tested on the 3 to 8, which is our target age group. We also have we did some field testing on middle schoolers and older kids that didn't have tech skills or had big gaps in their tech skills. And we found that those kids loved it too. And even though the activities are really based for younger kids, the older kids were like, oh, this is fun, this is cool. And they figured out that they had tech gaps and they filled in their tech gaps, but it did not take them as long to go through the lessons as a 3-year-old. I do strongly recommend that unless there's a physical reason, like the student can't do the physical gesture, don't skip lessons. Just because you have a student that thinks they're more advanced, they will probably have some gaps that haven't been taught. So do try to go through the lessons in order. Don't skip lessons unless there's a true reason for it. So I do want to say that TVI shared with me, my middle school student struggled with the rotor. And after going through the rotor lessons, things just clicked. We were both excited to truly understand what a fantastic tool this is. Okay. Oh, I did want to mention that I don't know of any 3-year-olds that can do the rotor and understand the rotor, the gestures and the whole concept of it. So don't worry if you're working with a 3-year-old, they're not going to get that far at 3. Okay. I don't know any 3-year-old that's using the rotor gestures. All right. Progression of text skills. So it starts with the chapter progression. There are multiple lessons under each skill. So on the screen, it shows the rotor chapter, and then it shows the 2-finger twist is the one that it's on, but it shows 5 different lessons. Now with the rotor, all 5 lessons are new lessons, but on some of them, you might have to use your drag and split tap gesture in order to do a matching game. And therefore, under the matching lesson, it will intentionally repeat the drag and the split tap gestures. So that is an intentional way to repeat the prerequisite lessons to give those students a chance to review what they've already learned, do it again, and then move on to the new part of what they're going to be learning, like the matching. Okay. The help documentation, when we talk about progression of tech skills, the help documentation also explains prerequisite skills and it gives you information. Why is this important? Where is this skill headed that's beyond what we're doing in this app? One of the things I really like is the ability to customize so you can unlock all lessons. We talked about that a minute ago, that if your lesson is dimmed out. And if you look at the screen, lesson 1, the 2-finger twist is the one that we're on. If it was dimmed out, lesson 2, 3, 4, and 5 would be gray, and you would not be able to activate those buttons. That means that and the default on the app is that all lessons and games are locked. You have to go through the progression. But as a teacher, you can come back and unlock lessons and games so that you can jump around if you feel that that's what's best for your student. Okay.
All right, so we're going to go through the examples of that progression. And the lessons break down the rotor skill into isolated components. So if you've ever taught the rotor, you know it's a really tricky skill to teach. And there's a lot of suffering that happened because one of the fundamental aspects of AT before an app like this was that, meaning was really attached to the task in which you were engaged. Whereas like this app allows you to have some intermediate reinforcement to do these just isolated gestures, the 2-finger twist, which you should throw a quarter in between the fingers. But now we can structurally provide break down that skill within direct instruction and reinforce it in an engaging way.
In this video, I'm going to start on the chapter select page. I'm going to swipe to chapter 6, rotor skills, and open that up.
Chapter 6, rotor skills. Rotor skills.
I'm going to swipe down to rotor skill, or the rotor,
Back. 2-finger twist. Rotor. Button.
and I'm
Double
going to
tap to
activate.
select. Lesson 1, 2-finger twist. Button. Double tap to select.
Now, under the rotor, there are 5 different activities. So the first one we just heard, which is the 2-finger twist. The second activity,
Lesson 2, rotor navigation. Button.
rotor navigation, is the
Double tap
second
to
lesson.
select.
I'm going to swipe right to the third.
Lesson 3, 1-finger swipe up down. Button. Double tap to select.
Lesson 3 is 1-finger swipe up and down.
Lesson 4, rotor selection. Button. Double tap to select.
Lesson 4 is rotor selection.
Lesson 5, rotor activity. Button. Double tap to select.
Lesson 5 is rotor activity. So we're going to go to the first lesson. I'm going to go swipe left back to the first lesson.
Lesson 4, Lesson 3, Lesson 2, Lesson 1, 2-finger twist. Button. Double tap to select.
All right, so I selected the first one, and then I have to swipe to get to the start lesson.
Lesson 3, Lesson 4, Lesson 5, rotor
right,
act
swiping.
start lesson.
There's my
Button.
start lesson.
Double tap to select. Play. Button.
Two-finger twist.
Play.
Video.
Close. Button.
In this lesson,
Double
So-
tap the screen with 3 fingers to open the pause menu. Welcome to the 2-finger twist lesson. I need your help to perform some new spins for the ballet. Follow my instructions and use your fingers to help me twist and twirl. First, place 2 fingers on the screen and twist them in a clockwise motion.
Usually, most people will use their thumb and their index finger, and I'm going to put both of them down at the same time, and I'm going to twist right.
Next, place 2 fingers on the screen and twist them in a counterclockwise motion.
This time I'm using 2 fingers and swiping in a counterclockwise motion to the left.
Now let's make the 2-finger clockwise motion again.
2 fingers. I'm going to twist to the right. And again, there's sounds associated. When you do the gesture correctly, you hear some neat sounds that I'm not hearing through the webinar.
Yeah, there's a ding when you do it correctly. And some music when you finish a lesson.
In this video, I'm going to show the second lesson under the rotor. So I'm on the rotor skills. I'm going to swipe right to the second lesson.
Lesson 2, rotor navigation. Button. Double tap to select.
So I'm going to select the second lesson by double tapping. Now I'm going to swipe until I get to start lesson.
Lesson 5, start lesson. Button. Double tap to select.
I'm going to select the lesson, and for the purposes of this video, I'm going to skip the video tutorial, but I highly recommend you take a look at the video tutorials before playing the game the first time. So I'm on start lesson. I'm going to double tap.
Play.
rotor
Play.
navigation tutorial.
Close.
And I close the video
Double
tutorial.
tap the screen with 3 fingers to open the pause menu. Welcome to the rotor navigation lesson. Let's listen to some nice sounds. First, let's find the snow option in the rotor by placing 2 fingers on screen, then moving them in a clockwise circle. Keep making the 2-finger twist gesture until you hear the rotor say snow.
So lesson 1 was teaching me how to make the
Keep
gesture.
using the 2-finger twist gesture to move through the rotor. Stop when you hear it say snow.
Lesson 2, I'm learning how to navigate using the rotor.
Leaves.
I'm looking for snow. So I'm doing a 2-finger swipe,
Snow.
2-finger
Great
twist
job.
right.
Now let's listen to the sound of snowy footsteps.
Oh, you don't hear the crunch, crunch, crunch.
hear the crunch,
Footsteps.
The campfire. But this time let's twist our fingers counterclockwise to move backwards through the rotor. Stop when you hear the rotor announce campfire.
All right, so I'm going to use my 2-finger twist to the left.
Rain. Campfire. Well done. Now let's listen to the sound of a crackling campfire.
And you should hear that sound.
Mm-hmm.
Next, let's
All right. So you can see that's starting to build on each other. So now using that gesture with a
In
function
this video.
to locate certain items on the rotor. Now learning how to operate the rotor. Once you find the item, the desired selected item. Oh no, we haven't had any buffering issues. Okay, so on the left here, this is an image, correct? A screenshot. Um,
No, that one should be a video.
I'm just gonna pop out here and then go back into full screen. There we go. I don't know why that did that.
welcome the one finger up and down swiping lesson. Let's begin by swiping down 3 times to help the bird fly down from its nest.
This is the third lesson in the rotor lessons. So we are going to swipe down with 1 finger. There's 1 swipe down. The bird is moving down the screen towards the worm at the bottom of the page.
Looks like the bird found a worm on the ground. Now let's swipe up 3 times to help the bird get back to its nest.
So 1 finger swipe up.
The bird made it safely back to its nest. Great job.
Okay, now putting it together.
Welcome to the rotor selection lesson. I need your help getting my spaceship ready to launch. Use a 2-finger twist to begin moving the rotor. Keep twisting until you hear the rotor say, begin fueling.
This is the 4th lesson in the rotor. So I'm going to do a 2-finger twist to the right.
Board astronauts. Check weather. Begin fueling. Great job. Now swipe up with 1 finger to fill up the spaceship with fuel.
Going to swipe up. Oh, and you can't hear the gas guggling as it fills up.
Perfect. Now the ship's all fueled up. Next, let's get the astronauts into the ship. Use a 2-finger twist to begin moving the rotor. Keep twisting until you hear the rotor say, board the astronauts.
Board the astronauts. All right, so I can do a 2-finger twist right. I've already heard board the astronauts, so it might be quicker to do a 2-finger twist left.
Check weather. Board astronauts. Well done. Now swipe up with 1 finger to get the astronauts into their seats.
1 finger swipe up. And you should hear them stomping in and then fastening their seatbelt.
Excellent. Now that the astronauts are all strapped in, it's time to launch the spaceship. Use a 2-finger counterclockwise twist to begin moving the rotor back. Keep twisting until you hear the rotor say, launch the spaceship.
Launch spaceship. So 2-finger twist to the left.
Comb your hair. Launch spaceship. Well done. Now swipe down with 1 finger to launch the spaceship.
Now I had to listen. This time it's a swipe down.
Ready in T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
And you should hear it lifting off.
Yeah, you can't hear the jets. There are jets.
You did it. You sent the ship rocketing up into space. Way to go, cadet.
Okay, and then
Welcome to the rotor selection.
There is an additional rotor activity video, and then there's a game to culminate and to continue to build fluency in using the rotor. So Giddy Gardener is the game that starts where you have an empty pot and you use a rotor to find the options and add the soil, the seeds and water by selecting that item on the rotor and swiping up or down the specific number of not times that it instructs you to do so. So let's go to the rotor game. apologize. I'm going to need to hop.
So the rotor lesson with the robot, that's a video. The other one is an image.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to play it. I'm going to have to, what I'm saying is hop out and hop
Yeah.
back in. It's doing the buffering thing.
Here we go. In this video, I'm going to quickly demonstrate the rotor lesson number 5, which is rotor activities. I'm on the rotor skills page. I'm going to swipe right to lesson 5 and activate it.
Lesson 5, rotor act.
And I'm going to swipe right to start lesson and select it
Start
with a
lesson.
double tap.
Play.
Rotor activity
Flows.
tutorial.
Double tap the screen with 3 fingers to open the pause menu. Welcome to the rotor activity lesson. There's a robot talking to you. Why don't we try speeding up its voice? Use a 2-finger twist gesture to navigate through the rotor. Stop twisting when you hear it announce speaking rate.
So I'm going to use a 2-finger twist, and I'm going to twist clockwise to the right.
Settings. Speaking rate. Great job. Now swipe up with 1 finger to increase the robot's speaking rate.
1 finger swipe up.
Fast. Faster. Fastest. Excellent. Now it's talking really fast. Let's see how slow we can make it talk by swiping down with 1 finger.
All right, I'm going to swipe down. Remember, we're still on speaking rate. I'm going to swipe down multiple times with 1 finger.
Faster. Fast. Normal.
Michael, for sake of time, let's stop this video and keep on going because we have like 9 minutes left.
Okay, sounds great. So applying real rotor concepts and integrating that into the lesson. So the built-in features, you have the accessibility on and off. There's settings that you can adjust some of those features. So things like locking lessons that was mentioned earlier, the pause menu, you can use the screen curtain. It's a bit like touch typing. We had that question earlier. There is the visual feedback to engage with motivation, although that's always a tricky thing that you're going to have to balance with a student on whether or not they become frustrated. The video tutorials that we've shared and the help document in summary. So I'm just going to start this.
And it turned accessibility on. I'm going to use a 1-finger swipe down to chapters and double tap to select chapters.
Chapters. Button. Chapter 1, Explore and Touch. Button.
I'm going to select the
Double
first
tap
chapter.
to select.
And I'm going to double tap to open it.
Explore and Touch.
And I'm going to swipe down to the first lesson and open that.
Back. Horizontal drag. Lesson 1. Horizontal dragging. Lesson 2. Start lesson. Play. Button. Play. Close. Double tap the screen with 3 fingers to open the pause menu. Welcome to the sonified horizontal dragging lesson. On the left side of the screen, we have a rubber duck, and on the right side of the screen is a bathtub. Place your finger on the top left corner of the screen and drag downwards to find the rubber duck. Once you've found the duck, drag your finger right along the sonified line to trace the duck's path to the bathtub.
All right, I am in a lesson, and if I want to stop the lesson and not go all the way through, I'm going to use a 3-finger double tap. Again, a 3-finger double tap.
Resume. Button. Double tap to select.
All right, the pause menu popped up, and I have the option of resume, curtain, which I can toggle on and off. That makes the screen dark, so you can't see anything on the screen, or quit. And if I want to quit the game, I'm going to swipe down to quit and double tap on it.
Curtain. Quit. But. Explore and touch.
Now I'm going to move down and show how to exit a game. So Just Your Forest is the first game. I'm going to swipe down to Gesture Forest and activate that.
Tag, horizontal state gesture forest. Welcome to Gesture Forest. When you find an animal, tap on it with one finger to hear it make a noise.
All right, in any game at the bottom is a bar. On the bottom left is the pause button. On the bottom right is the repeat button. If I want to quit the game, I'm going to come to the pause button and I have to drag down to the pause and then split tap. So I'm going to drop it while my finger is on the pause. I'm going to drop a second finger.
Resume, button.
And here
Tap to select.
in the pause menu, I have the options of resume. I can toggle the screen curtain on or off, and I can toggle the music on and off, and then quit. So if I want to quit this game, I'm going to swipe down to quit.
Curtain, music, quit.
And double tap.
Explore and touch.
This is a
So we have a short survey that will just take a minute. I'm going to start this, pull some quizzes here. Apologize. And we'd love to know your feedback. What do you like about the app? What's your favorite activity and why? So if you can take a quick second to respond to those questions, it should be you should be able to type in responses to that poll. So seeing 2 people be able to respond here. And after about a minute, just so I can leave Diane some time, I'm gonna end the survey. Answers are rolling in now. All right. In the poll, and just take a look. Whoops. I cannot see. Oh man, we can't see what those responses are. But we will be able to pull them up after. We appreciate you guys giving us that feedback.
Michael, there's a view details button. I don't know if you saw that, but you can view the details there and it brings up like a word wall and everything.
I don't have that on my end. Are you able to do that tomorrow? I just have share results here.
Yes. Hold on a second. View details. And then I'd have to take over the screen sharing.
I would say for right now, let's skip that and can you pull it up and keep it, Tamari, and I'll look at it later. But we're down to just a few more minutes. We have a couple slides left.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. And I do want to mention that if you have a question, feel free to stay on a little bit later or email me directly, and I'll be happy to answer your question or throw it in the chat right now. But let's go ahead and finish. We have a couple more slides before we get to our question time.
Yeah. So how does this support math? So first, those basic skills are really important for being able to engage with math apps and tools. They're prevalent in students' classrooms now. I tried to map on, for example, we have the Ducky game and talked about how that relates to and maps on to audio tracing. But students cannot learn the math concepts and the tech skills at the same time. So there's spatial awareness, which helps with mental mapping. Math is very spatial in nature, and so it helps with relation to tactile graphics, strengthens listening and auditory memory skills. There's some foundational understanding of rows, columns, and grids, which is helpful for coordinate plane concepts, spreadsheets, and all of that good stuff. It promotes independent access to digital math concept. There's a variety of things. So that incidental learning and being able to abstract concepts. This really does provide a bridge from our concrete to being able to abstract and mental map and generalize that into other digital landscapes.
Okay, and there are a couple other priceless tech skills. I love how you have to listen in order to do things. So there's listening skills, there's following directions, following multiple step directions. Ear cons and sounds have meaning. Independence is a huge piece. The kids can play these games on their own and not have a teacher say, do this, do this, do this, do this all the way. That independence is a critical piece. And it builds confidence. It doesn't take long for the kiddo to try a couple of things, get that interactive feedback, and figure out that they can do it and play those games. It really builds that confidence with their tech skills. I really like that it builds equivalent tech skills for students entering kindergarten. Remember those two gateways? Our kids that are visually impaired need to have equivalent tech skills before they enter kindergarten, or they're starting school behind their peers. And also, the game supports the mastery of tablet skills for those third grade assessments and gets them ready to take those online assessments. All right, so how do you access the First Step app? The first thing is you go and you download the free BLV First Steps app in the App Store. So the app itself is free. You do that. And remember, it's only available for an iPad, not for an iPhone. Step two is you log in using your Objective Ed credentials. So if you already have Objective Ed in your school system, you automatically have the app. You automatically have access to BLV First Steps app, but you have to download the app as well, okay? There's no additional cost if you already have the Objective Ed platform. Go on to the next slide.
Diane, there's one question. Is it available outside North America? I am in Australia.
Right now, it is not, but I would recommend that you send an email to Objective Ed and let them know that you are interested in the app. Okay. All right. So the Objective Ed platform, excuse me, includes First Steps, which is the app that we just looked at, the VoiceOver screen reader skills. It includes Next Steps, which are a whole variety of games for orientation, braille, tech, listening, app games, and that's for ages 6 through 14. And then Future Steps, which is in the works right now and will be available soon, is the workplace readiness, executive functioning, self-advocacy, social, financial literacy, etc., through immersive stories. The cost for the platform is $250 a subscription. There are some things that you can do if you, there are different levels of subscription. So if you have your whole school district or if you have a few kids, you have some options and you can find those options on the Objective Ed platform.
And that's an annual cost, right?
Unfortunately, it is a subscription. It is an annual cost. I often get asked if there is a way to just purchase the app and not go through the subscription. Right now, there is not. I would love to see that happen, but right now it is only available through the subscription. All right, go ahead.
All right, and that brings us to the end. So if we have our contact information, so Diane's email is dianebronner at me.com, and my email is mjt18t@fsu.edu or mtuttle@fsu.edu. So if you have any questions, we love talking, and so I don't mind staying on for a sec, but thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And this is Leslie Thatcher. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Diane and Michael, for just introducing why this is so important, why these skills are such a critical foundation for our students and giving our teachers a good tool to use and introduce these concepts. We did just get a Q&A that a standalone price for the app would be great too. Feedback, which makes a lot of sense.
And that would be great feedback to give to Objective Ed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
No, open. All right. Down to 35. All right.
Oh, did something just come in the
Oh,
question?
here we go. Thank you. Thinking of working with older adults also that are challenged with tech. Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge part of the field right now that we is a great point.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up.
Thanks,
And if,
folks.
yeah.
And can educators get a free trial to test it out?
That's a great question. So if you come to the International AER Conference, we'll be doing a session on this app and we will be giving out, it will be a hands-on session. So you can load it up on your iPad and you can have it for that session. And you can take it home and try it.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you, Diane. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. Again, this will be recorded and we'll get notes out to you in the next couple of days.
All right.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.